From Succession, offering the same sibling rivalry that fans love to see in Yellowstone, to the 1883 and 1923 spin-offs that serve as the obvious next step for fans of the series, these are all the shows fans of Yellowstone need to see before Season 6. For starters, it's Succession. Now, at first glance, these two shows may not seem all that related. I mean, what's a bunch of ranchers got to do with corporate types halfway across the country? But when you start digging deep, you'll really start to notice that the shows are strikingly similar. So, Succession is a show about a bunch of siblings who are all painfully trying to compete with one another in a battle to win their father's approval and, of course, his inheritance. And all this is made worse by the fact that their dad, well, he's just a really complicated individual himself. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? But that's not even where all the similarities end. You'll also get betrayals, infighting, and just a whole lot of tense situations from start to finish. What also makes the two shows similar is that they're both just really fantastic in their own ways. Just like Yellowstone, Succession may make you think the story is going one way and then pull a twist and turn that leaves just about everyone shocked. And don't even get me started on those nail-biting season finales. If you're a Yellowstone fan, you're definitely going to be enjoying this show a lot. But of course, it doesn't exactly have the same setting. And some people may not like that too much. Though for those of you who do watch it, know that much like Yellowstone, Succession has also just concluded, so you can binge from start to finish without worry. Plus, there's another show you've got to see. I'm talking about Ozark. Ozark was the surprise hit from Netflix that no one saw coming. I mean, who knew Jason Bateman, known mostly for his more comedic roles, would be such a killer money launderer? So, as you may have guessed from the name, the series is set in the Ozarks and follows the life of a Chicago financial advisor who gets involved in some not-so-legal business. You see, the guy's working for an angry drug boss. And well, turns out just about everyone in the Bird family is about to be involved in the drug business. Now, unlike Yellowstone, the Bird family may not always be in as much control as the Duttons. But don't let that fool you. The show is very much in the same vein as Yellowstone, with the family trying to get to the top, with every sort of trick they have up their sleeves, legal or otherwise. And just like how Yellowstone's colorful cast of characters helps it stand out, Ozark also features a bunch of really amazing characters you're gonna get attached to, and then ultimately get heartbroken over it, since this is one show that doesn't pull punches when it comes to character deaths. But it's not just the family dynamics that make Yellowstone so good. It's also the Western setting that gives its unique flair. And well, The Sun is probably your best bet if you want something similar to that. This is based on the best-selling novel by Philip Meyer. The limited series tells the story of a Texas oil empire and how it came into power, as well as showing its eventual decline and downfall. It's run by a pretty ruthless baron who's brought to life by the talented Pierce Brosnan. Viewers will find him struggling to keep his business afloat as he navigates his relationships with the local Native American tribes. It's a show that's kinda similar to Yellowstone in a lot of ways. For one, much like Yellowstone, The Sun also features representation of Indigenous people on television. If you're a fan of their storylines and want to see more stuff like that, then this show is a pretty good bet. But there's a bunch of other great TV series that are still left to recommend. Take, for example, Virgin River. Now, if you're a fan of Yellowstone and craving more captivating drama and breathtaking scenery, then Virgin River might just be your next binge-worthy obsession. While these shows have their own unique flavors, they share some striking similarities that can keep you hooked from the first episode. Both Yellowstone and Virgin River take place in picturesque small-town settings that ooze charm and natural beauty. Yellowstone presents the rugged landscapes of Montana, with its sweeping vistas and majestic mountains, while Virgin River transports you to the stunning scenery of Northern California, complete with lush forests and tranquil rivers. But that's not all. Both series deliver gripping storylines with super complex characters that keep you invested throughout. Virgin River centers around Melinda "Mel" Monroe, a nurse and midwife who relocates to the small town of Virgin River, hoping for a fresh start. As Mel finds herself entangled in the town's dramas and romances, you'll experience emotional roller coasters that will totally feel like a page out of Yellowstone's book. Another great benefit is that both shows have a pretty large fan base. So, if you find yourself constantly discussing and theorizing about the characters, the plot twists, and the romances of Yellowstone with your fellow fans, you'll likely discover a similar community awaiting you in the Virgin River fandom. And with Yellowstone ending soon, maybe that's exactly what the fans need right now. Though, it wouldn't really be a complete list if I didn't mention this next show. Yup, it's Sons of Anarchy. Both these TV series take you deep into the heart of complex family dynamics and power struggles. You know how in Yellowstone you witness the Dutton family's fight to protect their ranch from external threats? Well, in Sons of Anarchy, you're thrust into the gritty world of a notorious outlaw motorcycle club and the internal battles they face. Oh, and if you're a fan of morally gray characters, then prepare to be amazed by this show. Now, as we all know, as charismatic as John Dutton is, he's also pretty ruthless when he needs to be. And Sons of Anarchy definitely features characters like that, especially the main character Jax Teller, portrayed by Charlie Hunnam. These flawed characters blur the lines between good and bad, adding layers of complexity to their stories. But hey, that's why fans love them, right? Now, I know bikers and cowboys aren't exactly the same thing, but honestly, if you look past the basic details like that, these two shows almost feel like they're the same thing, but in parallel universes. Much of the overall structure between these two series is quite similar, which is why fans will likely find Son of Anarchy to be pretty engaging from the get-go, but there's an absolutely legendary show you've just gotta watch. Yep, I'm talking about Breaking Bad. Just like Yellowstone, Breaking Bad features a gripping narrative that only gets better as the seasons go on. It's also got a lot of family dynamics that seem to get worse and worse due to the actions of key characters. The show began all the way back in 2008, but ran for a total of 5 seasons. In fact, it was deemed so good that it got its very own spin-off called Better Call Saul that had 6 seasons of its own. If you haven't heard about the show, first of all, what rock have you been living under? Though, let me tell you what it's basically about. The series follows Walter White, a high school chemistry teacher who turns into a drug dealer after he realizes that he's got cancer. To keep his family financially stable after his death, Walter will do anything it takes, from making drugs to straight-up murder. That's the high-octane intensity that fans expect out of Yellowstone, so Breaking Bad is a great match for fans of the show. Though there are 2 options that I haven't mentioned so far, and those are the Yellowstone prequels. First up, you've got 1883. This tells the story of how the Duttons managed to make their way from Texas out to Montana. It's got all the Wild West elements that fans of the main series love so much. Plus, it also helps to make the legacy behind the Dutton family a lot clearer. Now, even though it's a limited series, showrunner Taylor Sheridan already confirmed that there's another series in the works. It's called 1883, a Bass Reeves story. So as far as prequel content is concerned, fans definitely have a bunch of things to look forward to. Not to mention there's another Yellowstone spin-off you've just gotta see. Yep, I'm talking about 1923. This is the next installment in the Yellowstone franchise. It follows the Dutton family as they deal with the struggles facing them as a result of the Great Depression. The first season came out back in December 2022, and fans seem to love it. It offers all the details that make the original show so good, but manages to remain fresh and unique in its own way. Kind of the best of both worlds in that way. And guess what? A second season is coming out soon, so there's gonna be even more Dutton details to enjoy in the future. Showrunner Taylor Sheridan confirmed that there's another expansion on the way. This time, they've got Matthew McConaughey on board. And honestly, I'm pretty excited to see it. So from 1883 and 1923 spin-offs that serve as the obvious next step for fans of the series, to Succession offering the same sibling rivalry that fans love to see in Yellowstone, those were all the shows fans of Yellowstone need to see before season 6.